All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Crybully, the new face of female aggression, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. The woman who lives in the lie, how feminine projection, queer chaos, and the death of fatherhood are eating the West alive. I once saw a man, let's name him David, slapped by a woman in a cafe after he calmly asked her to stop playing music aloud. She shrieked, "You're toxic." The barista gave her a complimentary muffin. The manager apologized to her. No one called law enforcement, no one reacted. But when David reported it, Human Resources brought him in for mediation coaching. This isn't a one-time event. This is the reality. A woman attacks a man openly, and the structure treats him as the offender. Let that resonate. You are David. You're the man who acts respectfully, speaks kindly, fulfills obligations, and still gets punished for having limits. And the cruelest twist? The same women who preach fairness are quickest to use unequal norms when it benefits them, like demanding you cover the meal, then labeling you oppressive for wanting appreciation. They'll mock your parenting as controlling for setting rules, yet idolize absent fathers in pop culture. They'll leave you after 2 decades, claim the majority of what you've earned, then flaunt empowerment using your life savings. You believe this is about gender? No. This is about dominance. This is about an organized, deliberate reversal of fairness, where female sentiment overrides male logic, where emotion erases accountability, and where the man who provides, constructs, and safeguards is demonized for doing what society once respected. Let me ask you this: why do 87% of family court cases result in fathers being stripped of their children, often based on false abuse claims, while the state hands out welfare to mothers who refuse paternity tests? Why do men commit 97% of police line of duty deaths, yet make up 95% of prison populations? Why is the male suicide rate 4 times higher than women's in the West, yet no one marches for them? The answer isn't patriarchy. The answer is pathology, a pathological system that celebrates female victimhood as sacred, while treating male suffering as a joke, or worse, a feature. I was once told by a therapist earning 200 hour that my belief in truth, logic, and self-responsibility was a defense mechanism rooted in unresolved paternal trauma. That's the new priesthood. Women and their acolyte therapists, priests of the cult of female fragility, diagnosing strength as illness. They don't want you to heal. They want you to kneel. They want you to apologize for being competent, for being calm, for being a man who doesn't cry in group therapy about his inner child. They've medicalized masculinity itself. Daddy issues isn't a diagnosis, it's a trap. A trap set by women who were raised by weak men and now demand that every man redeem their broken childhoods by becoming emotional servants. You're not broken, you're targeted. And the moment you stop playing their game, when you refuse to split the check, when you don't reply to her 2 a.m. ooh-up text, when you say no to her demands, you become the villain. Not because you did anything wrong. But because you expose the lie, the tyranny of the fatherless, how the collapse of paternal authority breeds feminine tyranny, and the cult of the daddy issues projection. You have daddy issues, she says, eyes narrowed like a witch in Salem spotting a stray cat. And just like that, you're on trial, not for stealing bread, but for daring to say no when she demands you pay for her third brunch of the week. This isn't psychology, this is psychic warfare. I watched a TikTok trend go viral where women proudly record themselves diagnosing their boyfriends with daddy issues for the crime of setting boundaries, like refusing to drop 200 on a surprise concert she didn't consult him about, or asking her to clean up her own dishes. Let me be clear. When a woman calls a man daddy issues for acting like an adult with agency, she's not diagnosing, she's disarming. It's linguistic jujitsu. She flips masculine responsibility into emotional pathology, so she never has to face her own emotional void. This isn't Freud, it's fraud. Look at the data. 70% of youth in state custody come from fatherless homes, 70%. That's not a coincidence, that's a sociological detonation. And while the single mother is sanctified on Instagram with hashtags like girlboss and momlife, her son grows up learning that authority is absent, arbitrary, or abusive because it either vanished or was replaced by a parade of uncles who vanish faster than a Snapchat streak. Now, fast forward to adulthood, that boy becomes a man who's told he's toxic for enforcing rules in his own home. He's accused of control for expecting loyalty, of emotional unavailability for not crying on demand, of daddy issues for daring to say this is how we do things. But here's the rot at the root. It's not the men with daddy issues, it's the women projecting their unresolved abandonment onto every man who dares stand firm. Their father was weak, absent, or replaced by the state and screens, and now every man must pay reparations in emotional labor. I call this the emotional surrogacy contract, a silent, unwritten pact where women demand men become surrogate fathers to their wounded inner child, therapists for their mood swings, and servants for their whims, all while withholding sex, loyalty, and basic respect as punishment. If he fails her impossible standards, she doesn't want a partner. She wants a priest, a butler, a confessional booth, and a credit card. And when he finally says enough, she doesn't reflect, she projects. You have daddy issues, she declares, as if that absolves her of every manipulation, every silent treatment, every time she weaponized sex or affection like a feudal lord withholding land from a serf. It's not just projection, it's parasitism. Schopenhauer was right. The woman is a parasite upon society, not because she's evil, but because she's been raised in a system that rewards dependency and punishes self-sufficiency. She's not a queen. She's a queen bee, and the hive collapses when the drones stop feeding her. Watch The Crown and tell me I'm wrong. Prince Philip is portrayed as insecure, jealous, emasculated because he dares to want partnership as an equal. Meanwhile, Queen Elizabeth is cold, detached, emotionally sterile, and yet her behavior is framed as duty, sacrifice, service. This isn't storytelling, this is ideological programming. The message is clear: female detachment is noble, male desire for connection is weakness, and when Philip expresses frustration, it's not treated as legitimate, it's pathologized. Sound familiar? That's because Hollywood isn't reflecting culture. It's creating it. They're not making shows. They're making sermons for the Church of Female Supremacy, where men are either broken or villains, and women are saints, even when they're emotionally frozen corpses draped in crown and couture. Now look at modern dating. Women test men by inviting them to dinner and refusing to split the bill, then shaming them when they ask for reimbursement. This isn't a date, this is a power audition. She's not looking for a lover, she's looking for a beta orbiter who'll finance her lifestyle while accepting zero influence over her decisions. And if you object, you have daddy issues. If you expect reciprocity, you're insecure. If you walk away, you're emotionally stunted. It's a rigged game. The rules change the moment you try to play fairly, and the prize? Nothing. No loyalty, no sex, no respect. Just a revolving door of women trained to see male boundaries as personal attacks on their divine right to consume. The remedy isn't therapy, it's restoration. Restore the father as priest, king, and warrior of the household, not as a tyrant, but as a sacrament. Authority is not abuse. Order is not oppression. A man who leads his home is not a dictator, he's a steward. The church once understood this. Now, Hollywood sanctifies the man who cries in therapy while his girlfriend sleeps with his best friend and calls him evolved. This isn't progress, it's de-evolution. We've gone from Marcus Aurelius to Marcus the Munchkin, a man so small he apologizes for taking up space, and women wonder why they're lonely. You can't build a castle on sand, and you can't build a civilization on men who've been told their strength is sickness. So here's the truth they don't want you to hear. The daddy issues narrative is a female complex, not a male one. It's not men who are broken, it's the women abandoned by weak, absent, or effeminate fathers, now demanding every man compensate for their trauma. They don't want healing, they want restitution in the form of emotional labor, money, and submission. And when a man refuses, they don't take responsibility, they project. They don't grow, they accuse, they don't change, they condemn. This isn't psychology. This is ideological warfare, and the battlefield is your mind. But you are not sick, you're not broken, you're not the problem. The problem is a culture that's turned feminine insecurity into a weapon and called it enlightenment. And yet this was only the beginning, the opening gambit in a game I hadn't even known I was playing. I thought love meant care, effort, surprise, but she didn't want a man who acted, she wanted a mirror who reacted, a puppet whose strings twitched at the slightest shift in her emotional weather. I began to notice the pattern, the late-night texts that demanded attention, then punished it, the praise for kindness, followed by fury when boundaries were drawn. The way her empathy vanished the moment I stopped performing, it wasn't dysfunction, it was design. And I was not the first man to walk this maze, only the latest to stumble upon its truth. She doesn't want a partner, she wants a subject. The social intelligence trap. How women weaponize emotional manipulation to test male competence. The woman is the most dangerous creature God ever made, thundered Nietzsche. And he wasn't talking about venom or fangs, he meant the razor-sharp edge of her social intelligence. That glittering weapon she wields not to build, but to test, trap, and terminate male agency. I learned this not in a philosophy class, but in a Holiday Inn Express in Poughkeepsie, where I'd booked a surprise weekend getaway for my then girlfriend, flowers, reservations, the whole 9 yards of romantic chivalry. Her response, a volcanic eruption of tears, mascara rivers down her cheeks, voice cracking. You didn't consult me. You don't respect my autonomy. I stood there, bewildered, holding a voucher for a couples massage, like a fool clutching a surrender flag. Initiative punished, dependency rewarded. The message was clear. I'm not your partner. I am your warden, and you just failed the obedience test. This wasn't a communication breakdown, it was a control calibration, a psychological landmine buried in the field of love, and don't think this is rare. It's the default setting in a world where women are trained from infancy to confuse emotional manipulation with emotional intelligence. Consider the 2 a.m. text, ooh up, a siren song of availability, a flashing neon, come hither in the digital abyss. You, noble and responsive, reply instantly, yeah, everything okay. Instantly, you're branded. You're too eager. You need to chill. I just wanted to see if you were awake, not talk. Welcome to the mixed signals gauntlet, where the woman doesn't want a man. She wants a mind reader, a psychic puppet who can divine her ever-shifting emotional weather without violating her totally arbitrary boundaries. Fail to read her mind, insensitive succeed. Now you're creepy for knowing too much. It's a no-win dialectic, a psychological catch-22 designed not to foster connection, but to assess compliance. Every response is graded not on sincerity, but on submission. And let's talk about the so-called data they shove down our throats. Women are more empathetic, really. Then why do fMRI studies like those from the Max Planck Institute show that women's brains activate mirror neuron systems and facial mimicry circuits when observing distress, but often fail to engage the anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex, the regions tied to genuine emotional resonance? Translation: women don't feel your pain, they perform feeling it. It's not empathy, it's method acting. They're not compassionate, they're cognitively simulating compassion to harvest social capital, and when the cameras are off, watch what happens. I once worked under a female HR manager who praised me in private for handling conflict with grace, only to eviscerate me in a team meeting for toxic assertiveness. When I defended my team from a client's unreasonable demands, her emotional intelligence wasn't about harmony, it was about power extraction. She didn't want a leader, she wanted a scapegoat. And she used the language of empathy to destroy me. This isn't an anomaly, it's evolutionary programming. Women, as Schopenhauer saw clearly, are not wired for truth, they're wired for survival through deception. In ancestral environments, a woman who could manipulate social hierarchies, extract resources, and avoid accountability had more offspring. Hence, the modern woman's social intelligence isn't about reading the room, it's about reading her mood, her whims, her unspoken rules. The question isn't, is he kind? It's, can I control him? The social intelligence cult peddled by pop psychologists and corporate HR isn't about emotional maturity, it's about emasculation. It trains men to become emotional eunuchs, obsessing over tone, nuance, and microaggressions while reality crumbles around them. While men are busy reading feelings, women are shaping outcomes through tears, guilt, silence, or sudden withdrawal. I've seen men destroyed by this. Men who followed the blue pill gospel. Be kind, be understanding, be emotionally available. And what did they get? Divorced at 40, stripped of their children, 70% of their income garnished, labeled abuser for daring to question a false accusation. Look at the data. 58% of men in family court lose custody even when no abuse is proven. National Parents Organization. Male suicide rates are 4 times higher than women's CDC. And yet, the narrative insists men are toxic, while women who abort 93 million babies since Roe v. Wade Guttmacher Institute are victims. The hypocrisy is cosmic. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed to infantilize men and deify women no matter the body count. The remedy? Strategic indifference, not cruelty, clarity, not coldness, sovereignty. You don't have to justify every emotional flare-up. You don't owe an apology for simply being. You don't have to move just because she signals. Build moral clarity, recognize what is real, what is right, what is noble, and stand by it. Women aren't looking for equals, they're looking for entertainers. Today's woman doesn't wonder, is he solid? She wonders, will he perform when told? And if you do, she offers short-term praise until the next trial. This isn't affection, this is performance theater. The only path to freedom is to step away from the spotlight. I stood there, cake in hand, truth on my tongue, and a fire in my chest, because silence in the face of madness is complicity, and I'd rather be called a bigot than a coward. This isn't about hate, it's about honesty. It's about seeing a child raised in a linguistic and biological fog and having the courage to say, this is not normal, this is not healthy, this is not love. And if that makes me reactionary, then call me reaction itself. Because when the foundations of reality are being sandblasted by ideology, someone has to stand in the storm and shout, man, woman, mother, father, these aren't oppressive constructs. They are the pillars of civilization, the queering of the family. How queer theory destroys the natural order and replaces it with chaos. Daddy, can I have cake? That's what my 7-year-old nephew asked, not to his biological father, but to 3 men standing in a circle, each nodding solemnly as if they'd rehearsed the moment. One was the sperm donor, another the emotional caregiver, and the third the chosen daddy, a man who legally adopted the boy despite having no biological or marital link to the mother. I stood there at the birthday party watching a child with 3 daddies blow out 7 candles on a cake shaped like a rainbow unicorn, and I realized this isn't diversity, this is confusion. This is a child being weaponized by ideology, a tiny hostage in a war against nature. And the worst part, no one in that room had the spine to say it out loud. They call it love. I call it spiritual child abuse. Let's talk about Sweden, the land of IKEA, ABBA, and the quiet extinction of the nuclear family. Since the government implemented gender-neutral parenting policies where boys and girls are dressed in gray, told they can choose their gender, and taught that mother and father are outdated constructs, their birth rate has collapsed from 1.9 in the 1960s to 1.5 today, below replacement level. Norway isn't far behind. Do you think this is a coincidence? No. When you erase biology in favor of ideology, fertility plummets. Children aren't born in theory, they're born in wombs. And when you pathologize the natural bond between mother and father, you don't liberate anyone. You sterilize a civilization. The data doesn't lie. Societies that reject motherhood and fatherhood die, not metaphorically. Literally, ask any ancient Roman who watched the plebs stop having kids while the barbarians bred like rabbits. The NHS in Britain, yes, the same institution that once saved lives, is now handing out puberty blockers to 12-year-old children like candy at a parade. Over 90% of gender dysphoric kids desist by adulthood. That's not my opinion. That's the Finnish longitudinal study. That's the Dutch follow-up research. But the state, drunk on queer theory dogma, sterilizes them anyway. These are not acts of compassion. They are medical atrocities disguised as progress. Imagine a surgeon amputating a healthy limb because the patient feels it doesn't belong. That's what we're doing to children, mutilating them because adults have lost their minds, and when these kids grow up sterile, broken, and regretful. The therapists will shrug and say, "We validated their identity." Validation is not healing, it's narcissism with a license. Remember the Soviet Union? They tried this exact experiment. Lenin, with his usual flair for destroying civilization, abolished the family. Children were raised in state communes, fathers were erased, mothers were sent to factories. The result? A collapse in birth rates, a surge in alcoholism, and a generation of emotionally crippled adults. The USSR fell, but its worst ideas didn't. They migrated west, dressed in rainbow flags and academic jargon. Queer theory isn't new, it's Marxism with better branding. And just like in the Soviet Union, it begins by destroying the family, because the family is the first resistance to totalitarian control. No family, no loyalty but to the state, no father, no protector, no mother, no nurturer. Just atomized, frightened individuals begging the government for identity. That's not freedom, that's enslavement with glitter. Jordan Peterson once said, "You have to be able to say man and woman, or you lose the ability to think." He's right. Queer theory doesn't expand language, it collapses it. When woman means anyone who identifies as one, including men with beards and penises, then the word loses all meaning. And when words lose meaning, reality dissolves. This isn't philosophy, it's insanity. Imagine a pilot saying, "I identify as a bird," and jumping off a skyscraper. We'd call him delusional. But when a man says, "I identify as a woman," and demands access to women's prisons, sports, and bathrooms, we give him a medal. This isn't tolerance, it's collective psychosis. And the cure, truth. Say the words man, woman. Father, mother, child, anchor yourself in reality before the language terrorists steal it from you. Disney, the empire that once stood for courage, virtue, and heroism, now floods screens with tales where every side character is a gender-fluid alien or a non-binary squirrel. This isn't storytelling. It's ideological takeover. They aren't offering films. They're pushing moral erosion into children's minds. While parents blink, Disney, Netflix, and the BBC execute a quiet campaign to make queerness seem ordinary before kids can read. And why? Because if you shape the child early, you won't need to persuade the grown-up. You've already reprogrammed their thinking. This isn't random, it's calculated, and it's effective. I've spoken with 8-year-olds who can't explain dad but can rattle off 6 genders. That's not learning. That's indoctrination wrapped in animation. In Canada, a public elementary school replaced mother and father with parent 1 and parent 2. Not because it's inclusive, but because it's ideological. They erased biology to appease a dogma, but here's the truth. No child was ever loved into existence by parent 1. They were born of a mother, a woman who bled, suffered, and sacrificed, and raised, ideally, by a father, a man who protected, provided, and taught. To call them parent one is not progress, it's linguistic tyranny. It's the state saying we don't care about your biology, we care about our narrative, and when the narrative contradicts reality, reality loses. This is how totalitarianism begins, not with tanks, but with forms. Queer theory is not about liberation, it's about annihilation. It doesn't want to expand the family, it wants to erase it, because the family is the first enemy of the cultural Marxist. The father teaches authority. The mother teaches love. The child learns loyalty. These are threats to the ideology that wants you dependent on the state, addicted to victimhood, and severed from your roots. That's why they attack marriage, ridicule fatherhood, and pathologize motherhood. They don't hate the family because it's oppressive. They hate it because it's powerful, and power resists control. Genesis 1:27 says, "Male and female he created them." This isn't just scripture, it's biology, it's law, it's reality. The Judeo-Christian tradition didn't invent gender, it recognized it. And for 2,000 years, this understanding built the greatest civilizations the world has ever known. Now, we're tearing it down for a fleeting fashion trend called gender identity, but nature doesn't negotiate. You can deny biology all you want, but when a woman gives birth, it's not a pregnant person, it's a mother. And when a man raises that child, it's not parent one, it's a father. To deny this is not brave, it's suicidal. The remedy is simple. Defend reality, celebrate fatherhood, honor motherhood, teach children the truth about sex, love, and family. Men, stop apologizing for being men, stop cowering before the language police. Be guardians of truth, not servants of fantasy. The natural family is not oppressive, it's sacred. And if we don't protect it, no one will. The alternative isn't freedom, it's chaos, and chaos always consumes its children. I once believed that patience, loyalty, and planning were virtues honored by all, only to learn they are liabilities in a world that worships the impulsive, the emotional, and the irrational. That betrayal wasn't personal, it was systemic. It revealed a deeper rot, a culture engineered not to reward foresight, but to exalt the crybully, the woman who weaponizes tears, trauma, and tantrums to evade accountability while extracting resources. And the ideology that sanctifies her chaos as authenticity. Now I see the pattern everywhere, in relationships, in politics, in the slow collapse of the West. The planner is abandoned, the parasite thrives, and the lie is sold as liberation, the long game of survival. Why men who plan are betrayed by the short-sightedness of feminine and leftist ideology. 2 years of loyalty. I said to her, 2 years of planning, saving, showing up, because I thought we were building something, and now you tell me you're not ready. She shrugged, eyes already scrolling through dating apps. 5 years later, I found out she was pregnant by a man she met at a Fish concert. Some dreadlocked trust fund dropout who played bongos and believed in cosmic timing. She wasn't not ready, she was waiting for the thrill. Not the plan and me. I was just a human ATM with a pulse, a placeholder for the chaos she truly craved. That moment wasn't heartbreak, it was revelation. The long-term planner is not just unappreciated in modern culture, he is punished, and the entire apparatus of leftism, feminism, and gynocentric rot exists to ensure he stays silent, broke, and broken. Let's not pretend this is about individual choices. This is about selection pressures. Evolution didn't design women to reward patience. It designed them to extract resources from stable providers while being sexually attracted to the dangerous, impulsive, genetically superior rogue. Science confirms this. Studies from UCLA and the Journal of Comparative Psychology show that women's attraction to bad boys spikes during ovulation, exactly when conception is most likely. This isn't rebellion. This isn't personal growth. This is biology. You can't communicate your way out of evolutionary programming. So when you spend 10 years building a career, lifting weights, eating clean, saving for a house, only to be dumped for a tattooed barista who gets her soul, understand, you weren't rejected for lacking passion. You were rejected because you provided stability. That stability is necessary, but it is not desired. Nature wants genetic diversity, not gratitude, and the left knows this. They don't fight for equality. They weaponize female short-termism to destroy male long-term strategy. Look at the data. The average marriage in the West lasts 7 years. 7. Meanwhile, men spend decades investing emotionally, financially, spiritually, only to be treated like expired software. Divorce courts routinely gut men, awarding 70–80% of assets to women even when both work. In the UK, 86% of child custody goes to mothers, and men are arrested at 4 times the rate for contempt when they dare challenge it. This isn't justice, it's gynocratic plunder. And feminism doesn't seek fairness, it seeks asymmetry. It teaches women they are victims, while giving them unilateral power in relationships, courts, and culture. They can abandon, abort, accuse, and asset strip, all while being called empowered. Hollywood is the propaganda arm of this betrayal. How many films glorified a woman who leaves her boring husband for a European fling with a brooding artist? How many TV shows mock the responsible father as a joyless drone while romanticizing the flighty, irresponsible, free spirit? This isn't entertainment, it's cultural sabotage. It conditions men to believe their virtue planning, loyalty, provision is weakness. It teaches women that impulsivity is authenticity and that long-term commitment is a prison from which they must escape. The message is clear, the future is for suckers. Live for now, burn the planners. I once advised a man who built a 20 million tech firm over 20 years. Sweat, sacrifice, vision. He did it all. His wife divorced him on a whim, took half, and married a 28-year-old DJ who blew it on Lamborghinis and strip clubs in 3 years. The planner was punished. The parasite won. This is not an outlier. This is the design. The entire feminist leftist complex runs on destroying long-term male investment. Why? Because stable, self-sufficient men don't need the state. They don't need welfare. They don't need rescue by social workers or judges. So the state, in collusion with feminist ideology, breaks them. It seizes their wealth, alienates their children, and mocks their values, all while preaching equality. This is what I call the time horizon gap. Men evolutionarily are selected for long-term provisioning, hunting, building, defending. Women are selected for short-term resource extraction, securing food, shelter, protection, now, then discarding the provider when a better genetic option appears. Modern society doesn't correct this imbalance, it amplifies it. Welfare replaces husbands. No-fault divorce rewards abandonment. Abortion lets women have sex without consequence, while men are still expected to pay up if she keeps the child. The result? Male suicide rates soar. 80% of suicides are men, and the highest rates are among divorced, alienated fathers. Meanwhile, female promiscuity is celebrated, male responsibility is pathologized. We've inverted nature, and now we're paying the price. Schopenhauer knew this. He said, "The will to life is blind. Feminine desire is not rational. It is driven by the immediate, the spark, the drama, the feeling. Stability is boring. Chaos is stimulating." That's why women are drawn to musicians, rebels, criminals, until the lights go out and the bills come in. Then, like clockwork, they return to the planner, the provider, to clean up the mess. But thanks to feminism, they no longer have to stay. They can extract, abandon, and repeat across multiple relationships, multiple children, multiple men, and the state funds it. That's not liberation, that's predation. So what's the remedy? Condition your loyalty. No investment without commitment, no future without contract. Adopt the Spartan model: strength, discipline, reciprocity. Demand prenups. Wait for marriage before full financial entanglement. Date late, marry later. And above all, stop unilateral sacrifice. The man who plans is not obsolete. He is essential, but he must stop being a doormat for evolutionary impulses dressed up as feminism or personal freedom. Break the cycle. Build alliances with other red-pilled men. Share data, not drama. Protect your future because no one else will. The future isn't for the impulsive, it isn't for the emotional, it isn't for the parasite. It's for the planner. But the planner must wake up, now or be erased by the very system he built. I am not here to comfort you. I am here to wake you. You've spent years swallowing the lie that if you just become softer, quieter, more attentive, more therapeutic, Women will reward you with loyalty and love. What a farce. You've been trained like a lab rat hitting a lever for a pellet, only the pellet was never real. It was a dopamine trap built by evolutionary programming and amplified by a feminist culture that now treats male virtue as an inconvenience. You saved money, you worked late, you kept your word, and she left you for the guy who owes back child support and lives in his mom's basement. Why? Because your stability bored her. Her biology isn't broken, your expectations are. The female chooses the risk taker in the short term because he signals genetic vitality. She chooses the provider in the long term because he signals resources. But modernity has severed consequence from action. No-fault divorce, state-enforced alimony. Family courts that award custody to narcissistic mothers while branding fathers as potential abusers. 94% of parents imprisoned for child custody violations are men. And then society has the goal to call you the oppressor. Let's be blunt. If you're a man who plans, you're a sucker in a system designed to exploit you. The average cuckoldry rate in the West. Studies suggest between 10% and 30% of children are not fathered by the man who thinks he's the father, so much for trust. And yet, we're told men must be inclusive, empathetic, woke to what? To being financially ruined, emotionally discarded, and legally erased. I don't care if you're religious or not. Reality is religious. The universe runs on order, not feelings. The stars don't orbit by consensus. Nature doesn't hold focus groups. A lion doesn't ask the gazelle if it's okay to eat it. And yet, men are told to check their privilege while women abort 120 million unborn boys globally every decade. Yes, 120 million, because they prefer girls or fear raising men. That's not reproductive rights, that's eugenic warfare against your own sex. You think this is accidental, it's ideological. Feminism doesn't want equality, it wants supremacy, and cultural Marxism is its executioner. They've queered language so mother becomes birthing person, erased fatherhood from school forms, and then wonder why boys are lost, angry, and fatherless. They pathologize your strength, criminalize your silence, and monetize your suffering. YouTube demonetizes men talking about fathers' rights while promoting influencers who brag about sleeping with married men. Police arrest men for posting based comments online while letting actual predators walk free. And still, the Church of Wokeness demands you apologize for existing, for speaking, for being male. Enough. You are not the problem, you are the cure. Every great civilization from Sparta to Rome to Christendom was built by men who refused to submit to chaos. They didn't negotiate with weakness. They led, they fought. They protected, they bred, and they won. You can too. Stop waiting for permission. Stop seeking validation from women who wouldn't last 5 minutes in a pioneer wagon. Build your own world. Train your body, master your mind. Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. The world doesn't need more sensitive men. It needs awakened ones, men who know the game, see the lies, and play anyway with honor. Go forth, speak, fight, live. And when the blue-pilled masses ask you what changed you, say only this: I stopped believing the lie and started living the truth. And now the sponsored book introduction, Crybully, the new face of female aggression. I was 38 when I realized I had spent my entire adult life trying to reason with people who had no interest in reason. I had built businesses, maintained friendships, navigated marriages, and tried to speak honestly, only to be told I was too harsh, too cold, too aggressive. I was silenced not by force, but by tears, by sighs, by the sudden dramatic withdrawal of affection. I watched women I respected, even loved, deploy emotional reflexes so precisely timed and effectively delivered that they stopped arguments before logic could gain traction. I began to see a pattern, not random outbursts, but calculated maneuvers. These were not breakdowns, they were break-in attempts. Emotional leverage used to seize control of conversations, relationships with institutions, with culture itself. I stopped calling it conflict, I started calling it coercion. And when I looked around, I saw it everywhere, not just in bedrooms or boardrooms, but in politics, media, education, law. The same tactics, shaming, silencing, infantilizing, rallying, replicated at scale. That's when I realized this wasn't just personal, it was systemic. This book was not written from ideology. It was forged in lived experience, years of observation, data collection, clinical research, and forensic analysis of language, behavior, and social dynamics. I have interviewed hundreds of men who have been emotionally disarmed by women who claimed victimhood while wielding disproportionate power. I have studied divorce courts where men are financially gutted, not by law, but by emotional manipulation dressed as justice. I have analyzed social media campaigns where coordinated female outrage functions like a swarm, target, shame, destroy, with no due process, no appeal, no mercy. This is not anecdote, this is architecture. And the blueprint is emotional domination masked as vulnerability. The woman who cries when confronted is not always weak. Often she is the strongest person in the room. Her tears are not a surrender. They are a surrender demand, and most men don't even see it coming. They apologize, they concede, they disappear. The man this book is for is not a misogynist, he is a survivor. He is the man who has been told he is toxic for setting boundaries, abusive for disagreeing, emotionally unavailable for refusing to validate irrational claims. He is the man who has watched his father, brothers, friends, and mentors be publicly dismantled, not by facts, but by feelings weaponized as facts. He is the man who still believes in truth, in logic, in fairness, in the trivium, in the Western canon, in the idea that reason should govern discourse. He is red-pilled not by rage, but by recognition. He sees the pattern. He feels the pressure. He knows something is wrong, but the system tells him he is the problem. This book is his mirror. It will name what he has felt, but could not articulate. It will expose the mechanisms of emotional control that have been normalized as passion, sensitivity, or empathy. It will show how collectivism, equity, diversity, inclusion, and all the rest are not political movements, but psychological defense strategies, female-coded, female-led, female-enforced. If you are not that man, if you believe that emotion should override evidence, that victimhood grants authority, that men must be regulated, restrained, or redeemed by women, then close this book now, walk away. Pick up a self-help guide, a romance novel, or a feminist manifesto. This is not for you. This book does not seek your approval. It does not care about your feelings. It is not designed to make you comfortable. It is designed to wake up the man who has been gaslit by a culture that rewards emotional manipulation and punishes rational independence. This is not therapy, it is surgery, and the scalpel cuts deep. It dissects the BPD spectrum behavior passed off as depth. It maps the gossip networks that enforce conformity. It decodes the maternal state ideology that treats men as children who must be managed, taxed, shamed, and discarded. It reveals how female refusal of motherhood, despite biological imperative, has created a cultural vacuum filled with resentment, envy, and destruction. Women are not fulfilling their archetypal role, so they punish those who remind them of it, and men are paying the price. Civilization is paying the price. Birth rates collapse, trust evaporates, institutions rot. And still, the narrative insists, men are the problem. This book says otherwise. It says the problem is the suppression of men by emotionally weaponized women operating under ideological cover. And it provides the framework to see it, name it, resist it. This is not hate, this is clarity, this is survival. Read it if you still want to be free. Crybully, the new face of female aggression. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now. Links in description.